Welcome, everybody, to the Healthy Christian Leaders Show. And I have our guest today, Dr. Robert Knowles from Crandall University in New Brunswick. And Rob, it is great to have you here. Thank you for making the trek from province to share a little bit of time with us and have a discussion today about leader health. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Dwight. Good to see you again personally, and also good to be part of this. Thanks.
Yeah, we had a chance to get to know one another years ago when you were part of the Well gathering down in the valley.
That's right.
And that connection has carried along, so it's good to be sharing this morning together. So can you tell us a little bit about the journey that's led you to the work that you do today at Crandall?
Okay. So I was raised in a ministry home. My dad was a pastor, and so I always knew that life, growing up with it. I didn't necessarily want to go into pastoral ministry, not that I was rebelling strongly against it. I just didn't know if that was the life for me going forward. And so for me, it was maybe not a Jonah moment, but an opportunity to really kind of test that and see if I wouldn't go into it if I wasn't called. So I entered ministry in 1988, so I pastored for 24 years in our Baptist family, Canadian Baptist of Atlantic Canada. And then 12 years ago, there was an opportunity to go to Crandall University in Moncton, and so I served there as Vice President for Advancement. However, I haven't totally left, I consider it ministry, and I haven't left pastoral ministry totally either. So I preach a lot in churches, I fill in and so on. So I preach pretty much most Sundays, almost every Sunday still. And I think one of the big things that we'll talk about today is out of my experience with our family of churches, and I chair a board, which is the Board of Ministerial Standards and Education. And what we do is we basically are the gatekeepers for our denomination, for Christian leaders. And so we vet the candidates that are going out to serve our churches. So we talk about education, calling, conversion, all of that. And then, unfortunately, there's times when leaders fall and they find themselves in hard circumstances. And we're also the board that comes along for disciplinary and restoration purposes. So that's a long answer to that, but I guess that really kind of explains the breadth of experience, good and bad, over the years that I've had. Yeah.
Well, you know, you're talking about, and today's theme is centering around some of the pitfalls and challenges that leaders face when they're on their leadership journey.
Right.
What are some of the key pitfalls that you see ministry leaders falling into, which compromise their ability to lead? Yeah.
So I don't know if there's really macro categories, but I mean, some of the things that we see are, there are things that we bring with us from our lives into any profession, but in ministry, in our calling. And some unresolved issues can creep up, into our lives, like trauma issues, for instance, that never really are settled or dealt with, and we're still processing those, or we haven't had healthy resolution to it, or we have not maintained good boundaries or good accountability. So sometimes people find themselves in vulnerable spots or things like that because of unresolved issues. I think another thing is that there's this kind of sense of being untouchable or getting lost in what you do so much that you kind of lose your bearings. So outward displays of leadership without the inward core of who you are as a leader and your spirit and so on. So not tending to those issues. So I think that would be another one. I think power issues obviously get to people. They thrive on having people notice them. They get adrenaline from that. They start to believe some of the things that people tell them that may not be true, and so they can kind of wander in that. I think maybe not being in touch with some of our weakness can be another thing too, where we don't know always where we're most vulnerable, and when we get ourselves, one bad decision can lead us to a place we never thought we'd arrive at. So I think those are some pitfalls for sure. I think lack of accountability, lack of relationship, being in isolation where you're not having friends, you're not having people speak into your life. you're just doing ministry, I think there can be serious problems when you get into situations like that, or a little puffed up sense of yourself, where you're not recognizing you're there by God's call and by God's grace, and things could unravel pretty quickly if you're not careful. So all of that and so much more, I think, are things that I've been up close and personal with. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like what you were saying there earlier. We all have a different story.
Yeah.
We all come from a different journey, and we all come from a broken world.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we feel, as we enter into ministry to serve, or the things we're called to serve, that people expect us to have all the answers.
Yeah.
They expect us to have it all together.
Yes.
And I don't know that they do, but we feel like they do.
Yeah.
And that kind of sets us up.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about that. The whole idea of expectations, people's expectations of us that nobody could possibly fulfill, expectations upon ourselves, trying to please people, all of those things, and not being free enough to say, I can't possibly do this, or what would happen if I admitted that I was weak in an area, or that I needed help. Being a person who is constantly giving, we're not good receivers sometimes, or recipients. So are we actually taking time to receive ministry in whatever case it may be? I know with the well, the idea was that we would come together, pray for one another, maybe receive some teaching, good fellowship, and that we could kind of let our hair down, so to speak, is that we could be with one another and be real or vulnerable to whatever degree people were willing. And not everyone is willing, and that the harder the shell gets, the farther away we get. I just kind of call it drift. I don't think anybody goes into leadership and ministry thinking, I think I'll ruin my life, or I think I'll ruin my family, or not have a platform for ministry. But it happens, and yeah.
So some of the isolation we experience, we actually are causing ourselves and creating ourselves simply by the attitude that we hold in our heart.
Yeah, there can be a lot of fear with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's a big point, is fear. And sometimes folks feel like if I were to share what I am processing at the moment, I could lose my job, or if I share it with someone within my denomination, they may, choose to share it with somebody else, and so there's this isolation that tends to, transpire.
Yeah, certainly the presenting issue may not even be the issue. So we could say, I have fear about this, but if you kind of peel back a few layers of that, there could be other issues, which I've alluded to already, of unresolved issues, or not really being in touch with where our vulnerabilities lie, or how close we are to again, that fear of vulnerability is huge. Is that they'll think less of me if I portray this or don't portray this. Yeah.
So what can leaders do? Like, what steps can they take to deal with the unresolved issues that we all come from with, to get past that sense of risk that in sharing and being transparent, and getting into community? What steps can leaders take?
Yeah, again, it all sounds so easy when we talk about this, but there's a lot of things involved. But
yeah,
I think the keeping our soul strong, or our spirit strong in ministry, so attending to those things that will help us to go the distance, not burning out, but having a deep well, if I can use that terminology, of ministering out of the overflow. My wife and I talk a lot about that, and she would tell the people that she's involved with student leadership and ministry about ministry out of the overflow. And so when we start to shut those things down, we can dry up pretty quickly. So I think it's attending to those kind of first order things in our lives, areas of most importance. I think relating to one another, peer accountability, having a mentor is very important. People that can ask the hard questions, call us on things, and making ourselves accountable to other people is huge. Like, I believe that I have people in my life that would ask me hard questions. I have a choice of where I go. Will I move farther away from the truth and health by pushing them away or giving them an answer that I think they want to hear, or will I really be honest and know that it's for my good? So I think those are key things that take place in a leader's life, to kind of evaluate, step back from ministry. I mean, there's practical things like, excuse me, there's practical things of, looking after ourselves personally. Even lack of sleep and lack of nutrition and, exercise, all those things that can alleviate some of our stresses that we bring on ourselves. We can actually help ourselves in more ways than one. It's not just all, praying with other pastors or leaders. That is important. And it's not all about, accountability, although that's important. There are some very practical things that we could do to help ourselves.
So there's a basket of different things and ways we need to invest. I'm sure that, in the area of professional counseling is also an important thing. And I think sometimes there can be a barrier to moving in that direction. Again, that fear of saying, I need some help here. What do you see in the area of professional help and the role that it plays with pastoral leaders?
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is that, say counseling is for weak people. I mean, I've always been a believer that whatever help we receive, whether it's formal or professional or with our peers or whatever way we try to do that, is always has a way to challenge us and make us stronger. So I would say it's not just for weak people, or we acknowledge that we are weak too, is that we all have a need to get perspective, to have someone speak into our lives. So that kind of thing. It's not just about becoming a better leader in the things we do. It's about being a better leader in who we are as a person, and a strong leader from within that people want to follow.
Yeah, one of the things that I've really appreciated about the Global Leadership Network and some of the things that they've done is they've really given a freedom in the communication and the leaders that they bring on and the stories they share and the way they communicate, that, being healthy and getting professional help in being healthy is an important step. And they basically ripped off the bandage and said, hey, we all need to embrace this and move in that direction. We're going to take a break for a few minutes, and we'll be back with Dr. Robert Knowles, and this conversation will continue on leader health. Looking forward to chatting again soon. Well, today's conversation was fantastic, but we're not finished yet. We'll be back in the next video with the same guest with more discussion about leader health. You know the drill. Subscribe and hit that bell. Would you join us for the next episode? You can find new episodes every week in video form on the Aaron Ministry YouTube page and in audio form as the Healthy Christian Leader Show wherever you get your podcasts. Aaron Ministries is an interdenominational network of friends in ministry with a mission to foster healthy Christian leaders. Check out our website, aaronministries.com, for more resources and information on how to donate or to start a healthy Christian leader gathering in your area. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.